Welcome to Stu and the Nut, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, a different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on the show chat room, via our Facebook page, and on Twitter. We would like to thank those who make this show possible and allow us to bring it to you. Our show sponsors: Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, Graybeard Publishing, and of course, Sheepdog Response. We would also like to recognize some of our favorite nonprofit charities who are doing great things for those who have served this country of ours. Veterans Outdoors, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, PinupsForVets.com, and the Lauren F. Bruner USS Arizona Memorial Foundation. To learn more about these nonprofits and how you can donate to their awesome causes, visit our website at www.stewandthenunn.com. All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nunn. You've got Stu here, and you see Nunn to my right, your left, or your left, my right. What's up, Toby? How you doing, buddy?
You know, just living La Vida Loca, also known as the North American.
There you go. There you go. You are staying cozy down there in the southern studio. What's our temperature down there in the southern studio today?
Well, we are getting a brief reintroduction winter, and current temperature is in the mid 40s.
I see that.
Not too bad. Not too bad. We've had some rain. We've endured 4 or 5 wetter days, but don't you fret none. You know, on Sunday, I rode my motorcycle, and on Sunday, I will ride my motorcycle.
I saw that. I saw that picture, and I'm like, all right, he's not doing it on an icy road. I know that. He learned that lesson.
Yeah. I no longer ride the icy roads.
That's right. Yeah, well, I see that. It is about 48 down there in the southern studio. Up here in the northern studio, we are at a brisk 27 degrees. Started out around 21 this morning, and worked our way up to 27 now. So I'm sure temperatures you do not miss, my friend. Your blood has gotten thin since you've left.
No, I thin my blood out as often as I can, and I do it, you know, mechanically and medicinally, but I do not miss. You know, everyone here, all my dear friends, have gone on all these ski trips here recently, and they're, you know, all talking about how much they enjoyed the snow and, you know, all the fun that they had up in Colorado and, you know, like places. You know, I got guys from my hockey team going up to Park City this week, and, you know, everyone's like, ah, man, I'm so excited, and I'm like, man, I feel like, you know, the scene in Office Space where wouldn't say I've been missing it.
No, that's it for sure. Hey, yeah, some big shout outs. We got a lot of folks tuning in. We see Rob, we see John, we see Doug, see CV, all kind of folks tuning in there. And a big shout out. Toby, you and I are both wearing new Veteran Outdoor style shirts. You've got the G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
I've got I'm just gonna call it the Buffalo one, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And
we're in the Buffalo.
And we're in one of my exclusive Gear for Grunts hats. Big Doug sees that, obviously, but I got my multicam Gear for Grunts hat on. A great friend of the show, just like Veteran Outdoors and Listen 9 Fight Company, and you know, BlueHammer.com, many other places. But yeah, thank you, Doug, for that. Yeah, so we missed last week. We're back this week. Had some technical difficulties last week, and we apologize for that. Hopefully it doesn't happen again, but you know, we got to throw a little bush league in there once in a while. People may think that we aren't, maybe we've gotten too big for our britches.
Yeah, no, it's always the best to pull something bush league when you have like your guest on hold for 45 minutes while you try and unbush league yourself.
Yeah.
But we are back. We got most of that worked out, and should be good to go. We should be coming across Lima Charlie.
Yeah. Hey,
But
hey,
let's get down to it, man.
CV's asking if you're wearing a kilt. I think maybe because your shirt you have on. I don't know, but he's or maybe he just is hoping you're
Oh,
wearing a kilt. I'm not sure. Oh, oh, da na na na.
no, just just some 5'11", Defender jeans, that help me conceal
Mm, there we go.
the
Sorry,
gun in my
sorry,
pocket.
Mark.
I'm happy to see.
Yeah, sorry, Mark. I let you down. I know you were maybe hoping for something else. You have to wait. That's another show. That's
Oh, so Mark is actually asking if I'm wearing a kilt because one of the last times, not the last time, but one of the last times that CV and I partied at a good level together. It was in our youth. I don't even know if CV was married yet, but
he's
I
talking
might
about it.
have allocated, acquired. What are all the go terms for stealing
A
that
five
you're
finger
not actually stealing?
discount, midnight
Yeah,
requisition. Yeah, something to do with the
I
Canadian flag kilt. I don't know.
that's exactly right. There
Yes,
was a Canadian flag kilt on the wall of this pub that we were partying in, and someone challenged me that said I didn't have the hairs to go retrieve and wear. I did, and if you go to my Facebook and you look at my profile pictures, you will see that I there are pictures of me wearing the Canadian kilt.
there we go.
But I did relieve the wall of that the kilt that was on it, and I wore it proudly.
There we go. Well,
That was good times. Mad Dogs. Or I think it was called Mad Dogs or something. It
it
was
was a that was a few brain cells ago for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So Mark hasn't forgot. You left an impression on him. It's burned in his memory,
Have that
obviously.
effect. Have that effect.
Yeah. But yeah, so thank you, Mark, for joining. Everyone else, we see a lot of folks coming on. Like I say, we missed last week. It's all right. Ironically, Toby, our last show we had 2 weeks ago, we had Mike Caputo on, who is gonna be on Tucker Carlson on Fox News in about 15 minutes. So I guess he won't be tuning in tonight. He tuned in a couple times, but he is actually going to be on tonight because he's a close friend of Roger Stone's, really close friend. So I think that's why he's on for. But that was our last show. We had Michael on, very big show. We were glad to have him on, and I know we're going to have him on again. But it's been a while since we've just been able to chat, and well, any fan of the show knows we don't have to look hard or long or far to find content to talk about. We can just pretty much flip on the news an hour before, right?
Yeah,
Which
no, like it what a week it's been. So let's let's just start. Let's dive into it. So we've had uh, some challenges with some campaign trail stuff. We've had probably the greatest political rally in the history of all political rallies. We got a virus that's going around and jacking up world trade that is probably going to put over 25% loss into the GDP of China in the first quarter.
and probably not going
Uh,
to help. It's not going to help the Corona Beer Company much either. Uh,
no, no, like, those
I'm
suckers
glad.
are.
I'm glad it's not called Crown Virus. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh,
So,
oh, I
hold
get
on.
you some of that virus right now.
Yeah, little.
Get
This is
you
a
some of
little.
that
This is part
water.
of the Noble collection. A little wine barrel finished a crown here, so it keeps the parasites out. That's what my dad always told me. It keeps the parasites away. So I'm doing this for my
Well,
health.
like little historical fact.
We tuck it back in
Uh,
this purple bag here.
the you know back when you were a kid, you probably heard the song, Johnny Appleseed and all the reference, to Johnny Appleseed. Well, the reason why like that's such a crucial part of American history is because they planted apple trees across the colonies and the different communities so that they could have apples to make into cider so that they could brew them because uh, alcohol that keeps uh, the immune health of most communities alive, especially back in the day. So yeah, um,
There we go. So
an
it's
apple a day keeps the doctor away,
however
especially
that,
if it's cider.
especially with cider
But
or blended
so
Canadian
let's
whiskey.
we've had some interesting debates and primaries on the Democratic side. We've also had them on the Republican side. that we're lacking debate, and there's a candidate that just, for whatever reasons, landsliding everything.
Yeah.
But on the
Without even having
Democratic
to
side,
try, but just keeps hitting the trail anyways, just to just keep piling, just keeps nailing those nails in with a sledgehammer, right? When,
yeah, no, like I don't want to talk about it yet, but we're definitely going to get to the greatest political rally in the history of America here shortly. The But no, it's interesting. We've had debates, with the Democratic top performers. We've had a debate recently last night, uh, or 2 nights ago.
last
Or was it
night,
last night?
last night, yeah, yeah,
Last
Nevada.
night with Bloomberg involved, and the it was just really interesting to see how it shaped up. And I gotta tell you, like, uh, I was really curious to see how Bloomberg was going to be received. I had a side wager with somebody that it was not going to go well for him. I collected on
Yeah,
said wager,
I imagine you would
and
have.
yeah, no, and but one of the reasons why I thought, and the reason why I was able to collect on that wager is because I wagered that he would not be prepared for that platform.
Yeah, and it was pretty
And
clear he was not.
yeah, and people were like, well, like the person particularly, I'm not gonna punk them out and put them on Front Street here, but the reason that person believes strongly that that he was gonna perform well is like he's a mayoral candidate. Like he successfully did that. He's campaigned on the mayoral and on the largest platform a mayor in the world could perform on. Um, so I
Yeah, but what they miss
absolutely
is that he did it in the most
agree that
heavily
he.
democratic city there is, and pretty much a city that's influenced by money and just
Well,
whatever's thrown in front of him. It wasn't hard for him to
yeah, I
win that.
mean, but when you are preparing for that is one part of, right, like there's a big difference between a city and a nation.
Yeah. What gets
And
me,
you
is
have to
he
appeal. You're
employs.
not just appealing to five boroughs, you're appealing to like different ecological systems. You're
Right.
dealing with farmers, you're dealing with agricultural industry, dealing with the industry, like you're dealing with mining, natural resource driven industries, you're dealing with, production and manufacturing industry, dealing with, high concentrations of just bullshit people. And when I
Well,
say bullshit people, I don't mean the people are bullshit. I mean how they get paid is bullshit. I mean, when you look at, some of the jobs, like the entertainment industry, like that that is such a farcical thing that people make, you know, same as professional athletes. When you look at, the sporting industry, when you put all that together, not just dealing with one or two teams, not just dealing with, one or two like districts that are like good at that stuff or like draw attention to that stuff. Like when you're dealing with states and you're dealing with just such diverse things, like you have to be prepared. And
right.
he was not prepared. And
Well,
and on a basic political level, was unprepared for like
Well, here's
if
the
he
thing.
thought he
It's
was
not like
gonna
they
go in there
hid.
and not
It's not
debate.
like they didn't advertise what they were going to go after him for. They knew they were going to go after him about buying his way in. He was going to go. They were going to go after him about some of the comments he made. Him being a Republican up till not too long ago. I mean, their strategy was well known throughout the country. Anyone following the political circles, and he had nothing ready to answer any of those. I mean, it was, when he could have taken great shots back at Warren. He could have done stuff back at Bernie, and all of them. And he could have compared his mayoral time to Buttigieg's time in Indiana, right? It could have been. But he wasn't ready for any of it. He employs apparently what 40,000 people or for whatever it is for. He's like this huge payroll. Nobody could have they couldn't have thrown a couple of devil's advocates against him and just put him on a platform and said we're going to hit you with the best zingers we know they're going to come at so you can be ready for it. It was like he didn't even know what he's walking into. It was a buzzsaw.
No, like, and that was, I gotta be honest with you, it was very disappointing, because of just that. Like he has uh, all the resources that a person needs to to be adequately prepared, and a lack of preparation. Like when when you think of a lack of preparation in the military, a couple of things like really come to mind: arrogance, uh, complacency. You know, nothing complimentary.
Right.
Nothing complimentary. There's a reason why there's principles of patrolling, and one of them's planning, and one of them's common sense. Like
Mm.
you gotta put those things together, and it was really disappointing because I really thought that you know he would have put together a team that would have like prepped him. I've seen like a, a public attorney, a public defender put together a better witness, preparation for a shoplifting case than
I've
what.
seen high school kids put together be better prepared for running for student council. I mean, it was like it
Yeah,
was
no,
pretty
I
abysmal.
was really disappointed. They he had to have known he was going to get dinged on those comments. He had to have known he was going to get dinged on, the fact that he's got a bunch of NDAs out there. Especially with, you got two female candidates on the platform with you. The Me Too movement is still, you know, present. You have to account for that, and coming out as an older white rich, let's go ahead and say billionaire, and you're dinging the houses of Bernie Sanders. Like it's good that you pay your taxes, but you're taking dings on dudes when you have like 8 properties too. Like
Right.
you didn't separate yourself, you didn't defend yourself when Elizabeth Warren came at you about the NDAs or releasing the NDAs. Now I appreciate why he doesn't release, because those were NDAs were entered into in a mutual way, and I absolutely agree with that. And if you have an NDA, or if you've ever signed an NDA, and for the sanctity of that document and the philosophy and the passion and purpose behind it, you have to honor that. And just because somebody out there wants to know what it is doesn't mean they have the right to know what it is. You need both people to release that. So I agree with that, but you need to be able to articulate that better. Um, I was, a little bit, disappointed, and I guess I was really hoping a candidate was going to stand. In every, debate, I'm really hoping a candidate stands out, a candidate does well, and there's moments of this and there's moments of that in all of these debates, but there's no real clear defined winner. There's no one that you're like, oh man, that guy.
So let me ask you real
Um,
quick if I can, because a lot of people had comments. If you had to pick one of the ones there, I mean, a lot of people said Trump won last night because they didn't attack him and he came out on top. But for the ones there, who do you think really, in the world according to Toby, that you felt came out on the best, looking the best?
uh, well, like I was just saying, um, the person that probably was the best prepared, um, and fired the best shots, and just didn't have her shots defended as well as others, was Elizabeth Warren. Um, but like again, you know, she she's Elizabeth Warren. Like
Right.
she's not a viable candidate. Like I
Yeah, I think she's running out of gas.
and that's the thing. She's trailing in the polls. Like this might give her a little bit of a boost. But you know, Amy Klobuchar, like she kind of fell flat. All the momentum that was behind Mayor Pete coming into it, you would have thought that he'd have done a little bit better. Um, he he didn't. Um,
You know who
he
I
was
think.
able to
You
he
know,
was able to defend himself a little bit, and he was able to get on the offensive. And that
right.
dude was like, like the brand new guy in prison coming out of the showers for the first time. He had his toothbrush in his hand, and he was trying to stick it to everybody he could on the way out of the shower, but he was still getting punched in the head.
That's an
Like
analogy, right? That's a visual. I wasn't expecting. Um, Let me tell you who I think won, and that was Bernie. Um, and I think that because he's in the lead and nobody took shots at him, they all focused on the guy who's not even on the ballot. They went after Bloomberg, who's not even on the Nevada ballot, even though this has far reaching than Nevada because the whole nation was watching. It was a pretty big numbers. But I think Bernie, who's in the lead, came out pretty well unscathed. Like he was kind of like, look at that guy over there. He's the slow one. Hey, Bears, go get him. I mean, and he
Yeah.
was running the lead of the race. That's who I think came out as the winner, not necessarily because of what he said or
Yeah, I
did, but
mean, I hate using the word winner. I agree with you to an extent. I just don't want to say that he won the debate because he didn't add any substance
no, he didn't.
to
No, I
the
agree.
debate that would say that, like he I don't think he swung anybody, but he definitely left the exchange. He's the guy in the fight that got out that with the least amount of damage.
You know who I think
Um,
came out the biggest loser, in my opinion, was Biden, the guy who was the front runner.
Absolutely.
He was neutered. He was neutered
Yeah,
last night. He was not even a force to be reckoned with. And with his polls slipping and pulling out of New Hampshire early, going to South Carolina and all that, he was not even. It was almost like he was forgotten about up there. I think he probably came out the biggest loser, or someone that was going to be the saving grace of the Democratic Party.
yeah. No, like the I don't think that he once impeachment came down. Um, I think he dodged a bullet, by them voting, to acquit and not calling witnesses. Um, no matter what side of the fence you're on, like yeah, they were going to be able to present some potential like shade mud on Trump, but the damage that was going to happen, to the Bidens was going to be incomparable. Um, the Bidens are still open. You got Giuliani, you got Lindsey Graham, you got all these people like pushing for answers now on the Bidens. Um, and so like, yeah, Bernie, Bernie probably left the fight with the least amount of damage, but you know, again, there's huge disappointments. That's the nation's first time seeing Bloomberg on that stage. He missed a lot of opportunities. He missed opportunities, to talk about some things. Like one of the biggest issues and one of the most dividing issues within the Democratic Party is the Second Amendment. Like there's a lot of great Democrats out there that enjoy their guns. They might not be NRA card holding members, but like they're advocates and they believe in the Second Amendment. And Bloomberg,
They could have hit
he
him on that. Yeah.
is a guy he's a guy that's championed gun rights. He's a guy that's championed that stuff, and he had the opportunity coming off the Virginia, like vote within the Virginian Senate where they, kind of did away or like voted down that bill that had come through the House and had created all that national stir.
Right.
He had an opportunity there to kind of seize the mic and get some some points in and kind of grow himself a little bit and kind of speak. But he's they need a moderate. They don't have a moderate.
Right.
And the guy that's in the best position right now is on the left side of both Mayor Pete and him, and they're fairly left, and like neither one of those guys got a chance.
Well,
And
you hit on, it's a good point you brought up about the Second Amendment. There was a number of things they didn't. I don't know if it was the moderators or what, but they talked about no foreign policy. They didn't talk about any issues really that were immigration, any of the national issues that poll after poll, good, bad, or indifferent, are saying that people care about. Right, economy, they weren't really going to touch. Right, but foreign policy being a big one. It's not just the domestic stuff, but there's a lot of things for the group of five moderators, whatever it was, and with some pretty tough questions. They were a little bit tougher than they've been in the past, which added to the fireworks, and maybe because Bloomberg was there. But they really lacked. I think if I was an independent or a Democrat that's kind of on the fence and not sure where to go, I would imagine they came out of that debate really still not knowing where to go because you didn't understand where any of these candidates stand on the issues that poll after poll matter to the American people. And it didn't come out of it. It just came out about, hey, we don't like Bloomberg. You know?
yeah, and I got to tell you, like anyone that watches the show knows that I'm like not necessarily the biggest fan of Trump's tweet habits, but he actually put out a tweet on this that I actually appreciated. And the tweet was like, it's a lot harder to do what I did than people think. And he's absolutely right. like it doesn't matter if you have the money, it doesn't matter if you have the resources, if you have the support, you charismatically still got to go inspire and work with people and get things done. And I'm just talking about the candidate.
Right.
I'm not talking about the president. I'm talking about the candidate. And like he he was kind of like, just I like the way he did that. He was kind of like, hey, a lot of people don't realize like there's a lot more to this than you think, and like I actually did this.
Right.
Like it wasn't a joke. It wasn't, no matter what you think, because I still remember people saying, "Oh, this is a PR stunt." I myself thought it was a PR stunt. I didn't think like he was a legitimate candidate until later on, where you realize like, it wasn't until like after he got through Rubio, Jeb Bush, and was putting it hard to Cruz. I was like, oh man, like he's legit. Like
Right.
he came. Like this isn't a guy that is at fantasy camp and he paid his $10,000 so he can do batting practice with like Sosa. Like he was a legitimate candidate, and his tweet this morning or last night is like it's a lot harder to do it like
It's funny. It's
me than people think.
right.
And I actually like I didn't take that as like rubbing your puppy's dog in its mess. I kind of took it as like, hey, like, hey, Mike, uh, Biden, like it's a lot harder than you think. Like I've done this. Everyone, is like, well, Biden's the great. Well, Biden ran as a running mate.
Right.
Next to one of the greatest communicators that the American people have ever seen.
Every attempt
like
he had to try to run as president failed. Every time he ran,
yeah,
failed.
like
Right.
he was successful. He was successful on the back of another man's effort.
Right.
And like
I want to
so
if I want to jump on something real quick. It was a comment you made about his tweet. It ties in. So I don't know if you knew about it. If anyone hasn't seen it, I suggest you. I think it's maybe on Hulu now, but I suggest you DVR to find it. History just had a 3-part miniseries on Washington called Washington. Finished it up last night. It's 3 2-hour episodes. It's phenomenal. If you have not seen it, it's a great. It's all the reenactments. It's from when he was a child up to the day he died, and everything he went through. I learned a lot about George Washington I didn't know. Separated some myths from facts. And one thing that in this series they have different people, including President Clinton, and different scholars. There's a professor from UT, there's one from Yale, and they're historians that are schooled in this, and they talk about certain they're either Washington historians or just that time period. And this one quote, and the reason I bring this up is because you'll see the connection is they talk about when he accepted the first presidency. He didn't want to be, right? He served from the French, started before the French Indian Wars through the whole revolution. He was a commanding general, right? Did his time, 20 years of military service. He was ready to retire and go back to Mount Vernon. And then they pushed him to be the president and forced him into being it. And one quote this one professor said was, he, he had everything to lose by being. So I forget the exact quote she meant. She made paraphrase it, but pretty much saying by taking the presidency and accepting it and being inaugurated, he had everything to lose and nothing to gain. We literally paused it. My wife looked at me and said, "Who does that sound like?" I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, nothing to gain out of it. Could be totally fine in retirement, and his life forever was comfortable with whatever he had, and taking on that new job as the very first commander in chief trying to shape this country. He had everything to lose from it. Building enemies, making up people upset, making himself a target, all this kind of stuff. Just thought it kind of relates to what I've said a number of times before is President Trump is the first president since George Washington that was not a politician, that was not a career politician. There's not been another one. Some people say maybe Eisenhower, but he was a general and he came up through that ranks. But there's never been another one since George Washington that it was not a career politician to become president. So it's kind of the same way, right? We all know that President Trump could have stayed and been in a lap of luxury just being a private citizen without being president, had probably a nicer plane, and been fine and not had the whole world hate him or the whole left hate him or whoever. He has everything to lose from it. And I just thought it was an interesting quote. I wanted to plug the show. If you haven't seen it, you get a chance to. It's well worth it. And it was an interesting take on it that even President Washington himself, kind of like President Trump, had nothing to gain out of it, really everything to lose. But I just wanted to get that in there.
No, I the it is interesting, and there's been a lot of you know rhetoric and talk about, well, the State of the Union was a campaign speech. Well, like I disagree. It was the State of the Union speech. It was a good speech, but it definitely like was not going to hurt his campaign. Um, but he is doing things right now that are mind blowing. I know we said we'd talk about it earlier, and it's like Daytona Daytona 500. Uh, like
Yeah, breaking records, setting precedent.
no, like I mean, you can go to all these rallies. You can pay your money to go and pay to get your VIP seat, and and I think regardless of political party, when you get inside those things, you see good in people and you see bad in people. Just like the bad being people chanting, stupid things, and the good being people carrying a 100-year-old World War II veteran to a better location, or to meet the president. Like
Right.
you see the good in people and the bad in people in both parties' events. But man, you want to like do something like cool for your people. Like you want to like talk to your constituents. You want to do something like he did a flyover of Daytona International
Pretty much, almost went right over the top of
with,
it.
with Air Force One. He did an 800-foot AGL pass on, like, dude. And the last time, and I want to say this a certain way, like the last time someone did that, people got up in arms, and they got up in arms because like how a low flying Air Force One was triggering,
Mm,
and like that was dangerous, and it was insensitive, and like how dare you, and like, and I was like, man, like if a president wants to like put that plane over the people and let them know like, hey, look up, there's a bird, there's a plane, like you have a leader. And I believe that the same action, and it just the difference in how it was taken, when President Obama did the photo shoot flyover of Air Force One in New York City, like people freaked out, and
right.
like, but let the record reflect who freaked out. His people freaked out,
Yeah.
like Democrats, freaked out about that. And, then you got Trump, like, like, not just like a photo shoot, but like, hey, I'm going to come in and I'm going to be the grand marshal of like the great American race.
I'm gonna
I
call
got my
him to,
grandkids on board.
yeah, start your engines
Yeah.
and like, and then lead it around, making that 22,000 pound vehicle
Beast on,
go as fast as
put
it
the
could.
beast on a lap. Like,
Yeah.
dude,
The,
every aspect of that
the only thing that would have
just
been better,
spoke.
Toby, the only thing would have been better is if they could have, as it made those turns 3 and 4, just let that back end fishtail out and just slide it all the way around. That would have been just smoke coming off the beast's tires, and as
Yeah.
the front end, the wheels on the front just turn this way, and the back end just come like you see in some of those videos that stunt drivers do. That would have been the end all be all, man. Heads would have exploded, but it was pretty
Dude, the
awesome.
only thing that would have made it cooler is if he flew in on an Apache on the wing and like slid off the wing, ran across, did like a hood slide, Starsky and Hutch style, you know, did some high speed Dukes of Hazard through the window mount of the Beast while
Told the
it
driver to get
fishtailed its
out
way.
as he jumps in there.
Like,
I got this.
yeah, I mean, keeping it real, like he just did something cool,
Yeah.
and like, yeah, I'm a guy. I got motorcycles. Like I'm a guy. I appreciate horsepower. I'm a Tim Allen fan. More power. But here's the thing: when he wanted to hold a parade to thank the military. People attacked him for the cost. People attacked him because it would be triggering to have those kind of vehicles and have the public aware of what we actually have in our arsenal. Compared it to like a totalitarian move.
Right.
And like, dude can't win, right?
Oh, they
Uh,
don't forget they blamed that he was going to make the military work on the 4th of July, and the poor military were
yeah,
going to get their holiday off, which tells you people don't
yeah,
know anything about the military because that's
yeah,
that's happening either way. Yeah.
yeah. But like, he just subtly, whether he even understood it or not, he was just like, "Hey, look, I'm still the president of the United States. I know the people below are gonna appreciate this. I think it's cool, like, just like from a parent perspective. Like, one of my favorite pictures is like his son and his grandson looking out the window. Like, he's yeah, there's some perks to the job. That's definitely one of them. And like, he just had the largest political rally in the history of America, and it went well. And he probably got some he probably he he probably just did the yeah. I'm giving a thumbs up to you because
Yeah.
I'm down for what's about to happen.
Yeah. Trying to make it happen.
The
So
all right, so like, I also, while you're firing that up, I want to touch on one more thing.
okay.
I want to jump ahead because this has been, and I'm trying to figure, like, I wrote a piece on it earlier today, but I was like super busy and I didn't get a chance to go back and edit it. So I decided I'm not going to publish it. I'm just going to talk about it. And I want to talk about the difference between pardoning, commuting, and then who got pardoned and who got commuted.
Okay.
So, uh, in the past couple of days, the president of the United States has exercised his executive privilege in the ability to, um, pardon people. And, like, he chose some people that I actually would not have expected. The one I'm going to talk about specifically was Blagojevich, the former Illinois governor, Democrat, who was convicted 14 years for um, uh, campaign finance fraud, and then for basically trying to sell the vacant senatorial seat that former Senator, then President Obama, had vacated.
Yep. Hey, I'm gonna try to
And
bring in the
because
special guest real quick, just so if you hear ringing.
all right, do it.
I've got your video hidden so phone numbers don't pop up, but I'm
But
hold
no,
on. So I think he's on now. No, we're calling him. Hold on a second. Everyone, we got a special guest coming in. If you are tuned in right now to Stu and the Nunn, you are getting privy to this. Hey, Dave, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, pretty good. Everyone, I want to welcome to the show. He hasn't been here in a while. Been busy, Mr. David Bellavia, Medal of Honor recipient, only living Medal of Honor recipient from the Iraq War. As you all know, a very good friend of the show, been a past guest multiple times and guest host. And we finally have made it up the roster to get him on. Dave, thanks a lot for taking some time, buddy.
Well, hey, I appreciate everything you stand for. Thanks.
Yeah. So you got me and Toby here, and
Toby,
what's up, my brother? How you doing, man? Well,
I was
hey,
gonna make a reference there, but out of respect for Toby's service, I will not.
hey, well, you can reference my people anytime you want, any way you want. When you got that you got that blue around your neck, not just across your shoulder. Like Troy and I, we just got blue on our shoulders and our discs on the lapel. But when you get it around your neck, and I mean, I got the same color on my Audie Murphy, but like that just doesn't weigh as much emotionally.
You know what's so crazy about that though is you think about any fight, and if someone would have just done something differently, you know, you could lose a fight. You know, if someone doesn't have a flank, someone allows someone to get elevation on you, and they're not doing their job and everything. And so when you really kind of boil down to how much I used to crap all over Hillary Clinton for her "It Takes a Village" book. But when you join the military, you realize that everything that you do, it really does take a group of guys. So
Yeah.
it's so awkward and weird to be like, you in the back, you know, you come up here and take this thing.
Dude, we have Dave, we have a ton to talk about, but I want to hit on what you just said. You have from day one have always done everything to promote every one of the guys from when you brought the guys up on stage at the ceremony to the day after, when you mentioned every single one of them in the Pentagon speech, to speech after speech that I've seen. You've been all over it. You bring guys to your shows. You brought guys to the Super Bowl. You do stuff everywhere. I mean, that selfless. I mean, no doubt that you continue to try to give back. Any thoughts on that? I mean, is there anyone sending to you about it, or was that your plan from the get go?
I honestly, it was the only way I think I could have been able to handle it. You know, it was just so, you know, a lot of these guys get this thing when they're young, and you know, it's just it's heavy when you're old. You know, it's much more difficult to wear it than it is to earn it. But the guys that helped me through that day, that was my family. And every other day since then, and the fights before that, the fights after that, and you know, we all say that we're soldiers for life, and we are. And if the roles were reversed, those guys would be like, "Hey, Olivia, you want to come to the World Series?"
Right.
I'd be like, "Absolutely, of course I do. I just want to hang out with these guys." You know, the Super Bowl's going on, and J-Lo is shaking her butt, and we're just like talking about like, yeah, so, you know, 4th grade soccer, it's totally more competitive than 3rd grade. You know, we're just like talking about our day and our family.
Right. You've had a pretty surreal last year, and you and I have talked a lot of times over this since June, and well before June, actually, since about last January. And I, you know, I don't want to go into any of the details because there's so much stuff that is not to be talked about, and I honestly can't remember it all. We've talked about so much, but is there anything?
But Troy is one, if not the first person that found out about this. And
yeah.
You know, as far as let's just compare his OPSEC to, I don't know, Mark Seavy's OPSEC.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say Seavey, who's listening in right now, like not a leaker. Troy's not a leaker.
Seavey is watching.
Mark Seavey should be absolutely discommunicated from all mill blogging communities for the rest of his life. He's a despicable human being. No, Mark. I love Mark. I gotta tell you, though, Troy, when Seavey accidentally was, you know, put a blog post up and it got out, and so it was a very awkward announcement where the White House is like, "We'll wait 3 days," and you know, I was doing a radio program at the time, but Troy mentioned to me that like everywhere Seavey went in the White House, there was like someone that was just like tailing him, like, "Hey, we don't know, could be taking photos."
Yeah, I wanted to introduce him to Kim and Kellyanne. I got to talk to her for a little bit, and it was everything I could do not to introduce them because I thought they would hit it off great. But anyways, the poor guy, he can't even defend himself. But no, it's yeah. But you know, I've told people a number of times, right? You told me, and I was flattered that you told me it all when you told me I was the first one. It was the hardest kept secret I've ever kept for 6 months. Let me tell you, it crushed me. It killed me inside. Every time we talked, I'd be like, Jesus Christ, when is this going to happen? I don't know how much longer I can hold this.
It kept going on and on and on. And then, you know, I talked to Matt Williams, the most recent recipient, the SF guy, and he was just saying the same thing. It was like, you know, he sat on it for, you know, 15 months.
Right.
And, you know, what are you supposed to do? You know, like you can't tell anyone, you can't really talk about it. And the other thing is, you know, you think that maybe they had second thoughts. You know, maybe they're like, hey, Bellavia, someone else had a PowerPoint. Turns out 2 of these guys were heavy smokers. You know what I mean? Right. Like you could, you always could end up, you know, losing something. Who knows? So
back to what I was asking you. Of all that you've experienced, and we'll just keep it from June, even though there's a lot before that. But I mean, is there anything you'd like to tell our listeners and viewers, just something that you feel safe in discussing that has just been such a surreal moment? And it could be just someone you've met or some experience you've had. Or...
Yeah, okay. So it starts with like getting a letter in the mail that your silver star has been rescinded,
Oh.
right? And then you've got Army investigators asking you like questions about stuff, and you think, what just happened? You know, is this you just rescinded the silver star? Like, what's happening? And then you find out that, you know, every guy that I mean, in basic training, you read these citations, you're cleaning your boots, and you're like, you know, they're superheroes. They're not real, and there's no way anyone could ever mistake you as being a part of their you know, their legacy. So it's just stupid. It's stupid, and if you get all excited and if you start, you know, reading your headlines, if you're as smart as your report card, you're in for a world of hurt. And luckily, Troy and I come from an area in Western New York that just busts your balls on a constant basis. You can't get away with anything. I go home to Buffalo. I'm like, hey, did you guys see me on the Tonight Show? They're like, for like 22 seconds, dude. You're standing next to two dudes. No one even asked you a damn question. You didn't even get to talk to the roots.
Yeah, there's not a lot of they're definitely going to bust your chops. You're right, and they'll talk about, you know, why didn't you mention this, or how come your nose is so big, or whatever, right? Not that I've ever messed with you about that.
Oh, dude, I gotta tell you, man, I get the Medal of Honor, and I go to New York City, right? And I'm in Times Square, and they're like, hey, Big and Rich want to do a concert just for you, and I'm like, awesome. Who's Big? Who's Rich? I don't know. Never heard of these dudes in my life, you know. And so, but they're the coolest guys ever. They're so super cool. And they do this huge concert. And up on this building, adjacent from Times Square, is a skyscraper that has like a ton of those video boards. And they have my face on like 9 stories of this building. And I'm like, my ear is 2.5 stories long.
It's a big ear.
And it's a big ass ear. And I was like, dude, this is the most emasculate. Like, my nose was like 2.5 apartments. You know what I mean? Like, it took a bedroom window, a living room window. And I was like, man, I want to just like throw myself off a building right now. This is the worst. It was like a giant Katie Lang photo, and it was in Times Square. I looked horrible. And but I was just like, yeah, man, ups and downs.
Hopefully it wasn't the picture that the Buffalo News always uses of you, because they use pretty much the most unflattering photo of you ever, every single time they put a story.
Every photo the Buffalo News uses looks like I'm in the Oswald transfer. My mouth is open, my eyebrows. I look like I'm singing. It's horrible.
Well, I appreciate how you you compared yourself to Kate Lang, you know, a great Canadian. But but you know, Dave, one of the things, you know, that, you know, all ugly and unflattering pictures aside, a lot of recipients of the award have done some wonderful things. Leroy is absolutely killing it in terms of doing, like,
Dave, if you breathe any harder in that phone, people are going to start getting excited while they listen to this show.
Yeah, well, I already am.
Oh, I'm sorry, my bad.
Yeah. But you know, you left your mark immediately by delivering the next day one of the most motivating, inspiring, chilling speeches ever. And you know, putting the words in, you know, like, if you think that, you know, messing with us, you know, obviously I'm paraphrasing, is wise, someone else will raise your children. And America and the military needed to hear that. They needed to hear that, you know, we still have men and women committed to ensuring that our way of life stays intact. You know, take the political, you know, landscape aside. People get to go up on stages and say what they say because these rights exist. And your statement, as brief as it was so profound because it kind of wrapped all that stuff in. But I've seen more highlights of things that you've said. In fact, just the other day, and I wanted to compliment you on this, you were talking about 3 people that you had met briefly before the time of which you were giving that speech, and you were talking about them, you were talking about their children, you were talking about the impact that they had already had on your time there and your life. And you are representing us very well. And when I say us, I mean the people that love this country, the people that live in this country that even don't like it. You are representing what's good about this country. Your actions are demonstrating it. The fact that you have been giving great opportunities, you have not bogarted them. You have not, turned them into a television opportunity for yourself. You have not tried to, pimp yourself out in different ways. Like, I really appreciate how you are handling this. I appreciate how you've not forgotten why the people that followed you follow you and why you are deserving. And brother, thank you for that. And I really enjoyed the speech the other day where he talked about the three guys and their kids, man. Like that, I thought that was just awesome.
Oh, hey, that really means a lot in that. And I guess now is an awkward segue to get to my sponsor, Pringles, and talk to
Once you pop, you just can't stop. Brought to you by.
I just want to. Brought to you by AA MCO. No, no, seriously, that's really kind of you to say. One of the things that it's so funny because when the Medal of Honor publicist people were doing all this opposition research, and I've run for office before, I've never had the colonoscopy that I've had in my life. They pulled up one of your podcasts where I made a comment about a recipient and some of the choices that they made after they received the award, which was done totally as a joke. I have nothing but respect for all these guys. They're all American icons. But that actually came up, and I was like, oh my goodness, man. I mean, that's like in minute 42 of like a 2-hour, program.
Yeah, we saw our stats. We saw our stats go up quite a bit from the DC area from January to June. Our numbers were looking pretty good. We appreciate that, Dave.
Yeah,
they were just like. It was pretty intense.
Yeah, they did crawl up 10 ways to sideways for sure, and understandably so. And you've still been busy. I mean, you're still kind of out there. We see you doing lots of speeches. You're dropping pucks, getting keys to cities, becoming the mayor of Disney. I can't keep up with you, man. But, I mean, what has it been like? You've been talking to recruits. You've been talking to officer candidates. What's it been like to be cast, not only to be received, obviously that's a whole other story, but just to be the spokesperson for the Army and to be pretty much like the head recruiter, if you would, I guess, or the head publicist, if you would, for the Army, to go right to that kind of mission.
It's been pretty nuts. One of the weird things is that sometimes you give a speech to a bunch of basic training kids, and it's just a speech, and then all of a sudden, the Army will cut it up and make it a Ranger promo. I was talking to like basic training kids. That wasn't really addressed towards the Rangers at all, and but it's just kind of weird how like you could just give a speech and all of a sudden like you don't realize how many people own it and how many people are, so it makes your discipline, it changes a whole lot. Things that are funny really aren't all funny when General Miller's yelling at you. So
yeah, so that Ranger video is pretty good. And even having your speech be prominent in a rap video. Or a rap song, I think is pretty.
I love that. That's always been a dream come true. SBG Duck in Chicago is one of my favorite artists, and I love his rendition of "Slide," where he uses the dub. No, but it's just crazy. It's one of those things where it's cool, but honestly, if it could bring more attention to the fact that we've got young people right now willing to do the exact same thing that we're willing to do. I think this generation is going to be better than us. I think for all the crap we throw on them, these guys are handling everything, and we're a stronger Army, we're a better Army, and if we can just encourage people to say, hey, when you get attention, give it back to the people who made you who you are, and the Army made us who we are, and when we do good things, the Army deserves some credit too.
No, absolutely. Toby, do you have something?
Yeah, one more thing, Dave. Hey, you know, you're a Buffalo guy, and I understand how it all went down, but how did it feel dropping the puck at Tampa Bay versus at home? Did you feel a little bit dirty, just a little bit? Like,
You know,
did
I
you
actually
shower
wasn't.
afterwards, or
I
like,
wasn't.
did you use the extra scrub?
I wasn't physically there in Tampa Bay when they dropped that puck. I had to go to the Washington Dodgers NLCS championship game, and so
Even
I
better.
missed the game, and I went to the baseball game. But in that game, I brought one of my guys, Omar Hardaway, who was a Bradley commander, and he was going to catch the first pitch in that game. And I'm so glad he did, because he gave me like a really cool scoop. You know, made it look like I put a little slide on it. You know, put a sinker out there. But it was a cool experience to have it with him. But I missed the face-off. I also missed the Cowboys game, the Ellen DeGeneres George W. Bush Summit. I missed that one too.
Oh,
Yeah, it's you can only be in so many places at once. So
yeah.
speaking of which, can you enlighten us on anything that's coming up? You feel comfortable enlightening us on what you have on the horizon? Anything that we may see or hear you around, or kind of what your tour dates are, or if you even know?
Well, you know, right now, I don't know if you've ever been out to Palm Springs, but there's an Air Force museum out here that is one of the most incredible. I mean, it is worthy. If you're one of those air nuts that love the old planes, they have functioning bombers from World War II. This Air Force right now is actually better than North Korea's. As it sits in mothballs in this, they have so much firepower. They got F4s, you name it, they're there. Just an incredible museum. I'm doing an event. They do a gala every year, and I'm going to be there with some cool people. So that's tomorrow, and then coming up, we're going to be in Texas and in Florida and
We're in Texas.
Washington and Texas March 8th, 9th, and 10th. And we'll be in Washington, D.C. on the 23rd, 24th, 25th. And doing some stuff with Tradoc, doing some stuff with General Funk, and talking to high schools, talking to kids, and trying to get them to make a decision. You know, when you go to a concert with your parents, that's the perfect time to make a life decision. Join the Army during Further Festival.
Yeah. What better time?
Hey, what better time than now?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hey,
No better time than now.
You're not going to happen to be in Austin area around March 9th and 10th, are you?
I don't know if they'll let me go to Austin. I think it's pretty much Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Killeen, West Texas, El Paso.
Killeen's not far. I'm going to be down there
we'll
with Toby. I'm going to be down there. We're going to be doing the show early that week. So
those exact dates.
Yeah,
We'll
those
all be
exact
here,
dates.
so
There is a great group. I'm working with this group out of Texas. Gary Luttrell, the Medal of Honor recipient, started this group called Tribute to Valor, and it's based out of Texas. And I'm on their board, and we do events together. They bring these like BMX bikers, like the X Games guys, and just a bunch of really cool, you know, pro military stories. They talk about all the different traits that are involved in service. And these guys are talking like 100,000 inner city kids a year. And that's exactly where I want to be. I want to be in front of as many kids that don't have opportunities to show them this is an opportunity. You can better yourself, but you can also better your community.
Well, just to make you feel better, Dave, Chuck Ziegenfuss, our good friend, just said in the chat that some of his best life choices were made at rock concerts. So, or at concerts. So there you go. There's hope that you may reach them at the right time, and you bring more Chucks into the Army, because that's what they need. So
I've seen more Chuck Z in the last 6 months than I have in probably 10 years.
And probably
like every time I'm in Texas, I run into Chuck.
And probably more of him than you are comfortable in seeing. I'm imagining knowing Chuck. But hey, Dave, we appreciate time. I know your time is limited, and we appreciate you jumping on at the last minute. I knew we were trying to make this happen earlier. And thank you so much for coming on, everyone. Thank you, everyone. That was Dave Bellavia, Medal of Honor recipient, only living Medal of Honor recipient from Iraq. A good friend of the shows, as you guys know, anyone that listens. And want to thank him so much for coming on. And as you guys can tell, we get someone like Dave on, which has been hard pressed. It's not. We're gonna stop whatever we're doing and make that happen. So, yeah, that was good. He's a busy cat. And we just heard a little bit of his schedule, and that was just a little bit.
Random. Hey guys, what you doing?
Yeah.
Well, you know what we're doing, Dave. Oh, let me in, bro.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Welcome.
that's awesome.
Welcome to
The
any time. We will take Dave Bellavia time. Even before he got the Medal of Honor, we would take him. He was on here so
Yeah.
much, he almost became the other unpaid member of the team.
He was the unpaid third host.
Yes.
The
and it killed me, Toby. I hope you know, man. It killed me that he swore me to secrecy. I could never say anything to you, and I was so close so many times to want to tell you, but he never gave me the green light, and there was so much stuff going on with their investigations, and yeah.
Never tell me anything. Everyone knows, like, I'm Canadian. I'm compromised.
No, you're never compromised. I just, I was throwing you hints. I just kept saying, I got some big news coming. There's some big stuff coming. I got a big guest coming.
I read enough Encyclopedia Brown books as a kid that I figured it out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But hey, let's get back to what we were talking about before Dave called in.
Hey, we just real quick, Colton Smith just joined from Enlist 9 Fight Company. Colton, you just missed Dave Bellavia, who you got to meet yourself. He just missed him.
A little bit late, Colton.
Yeah.
My man Colton, one of the best comments ever. Someone today asked him, like, hey, what's a perk of his job? And he was like, I like get punched in the face.
There we go. Hey, I also want to welcome Chuck Knapp to the show. He's watching. Chuck was honored by Dave recently. Dave took him to the Super Bowl. Chuck is from Kansas City. Chuck is a rock star. I got to meet him. He's in Dave's platoon, and Dave will tell anyone he gives Chuck full credit in saving their entire platoon. And if you watch his speech recently from down in Coral Gables, Florida last week, he talks about what Chuck did. Chuck, thank you so much, buddy. You're a good friend. He saved Dave and that entire platoon, and we thank you for that because there's a lot of families I know that probably thank you even more. So I just want to give Chuck a quick shout out there. But yeah, anyway, sorry, man. Go ahead, Toby.
No worries. Like, let's kind of jump back to where we were at before Dave jumped on. The difference between pardon and commuting, and so the previous administration. So we'll just frame of context, kind of bring everyone back in that missed it before. In the past week, the president's exercised a little bit of executive privilege in terms of pardoning powers. But the one I want to talk about specifically that people are kind of up in arms about is Bogovich. I'm saying it wrong, and I don't care because whatever. He was a Democratic governor from the state of Illinois, and he got convicted for and received a 14-year sentence for misuse of campaign funds. But basically, it boiled down to he was trying to sell candidate, then President Obama's senatorial seat in the state of Illinois. So for those that don't know, like when it comes down to replacing a senator within the state, the governor of that state has certain powers, and he tried exercising those powers, and like take a little bit of money, or trying to swing the state or maintain the state's political party status a certain direction. To which he got convicted, rightfully, and he got 14 years. He did not get pardoned. So everyone's like, oh, well, if you're rich and you're cool and you're like the president's friend, you get like hooked up. And so like he didn't get pardoned. So he got commuted, which, for people that don't understand the difference is if you get pardoned, the crime gets wiped from your record like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Sponged.
It's like, hey, our bad. You were wrongfully convicted. We are correcting the record. You are not convicted. You are pardoned. And, then there's, whatever happens civilly after that. It's not like clemency, meaning like I'm taking you off the death penalty and letting you live for, in prison the rest of your life. It's not a get out of jail free card, except kind of is in the sense that you get out of jail, you just get out early.
Right. You're still
You
a
are
convicted
still
criminal.
convicted.
Yeah.
It's still on your record. It is what it is. Now, people are like, well, President Trump, commuted the sentence / pardoned, former Illinois Governor Blagojevich. And I don't care if I say it wrong.
That's pretty good. I think you hit that one perfect.
Yeah, I think he was a douche then. I think he is now. I got no love for the guy because the guy leveraged his office to try and sell a political seat. Shouldn't do that. He broke the law. He got busted. Even though the administration at the time, tried to kind of push him away with a 10-foot pole, he actually got off easy on a 14-year sentence. But he got commuted for that sentence. He's still convicted. He's still gonna have to deal with all the repercussions that come with being a convicted felon and all that stuff. But here's a guy that was just and a political rival. Let's not forget this. He is a political rival. So everyone is, and just again, this is all context. Everyone's like, oh well, he's we're going to impeach Trump because he's digging up dirt on political rivals. Blagojevich, absolutely a political rival. If that dude didn't get in trouble, you don't think for a second he wouldn't run for president? That dude had, I want to run for everything. That dude has more Beto in him than anybody I've ever met, right? And I don't know what it is about Texas, politicians that lose elections, Beto, MJ, everyone that loses elections, they just oh, I'm just going to rerun against the next echelon. So it's Beto, lost the senatorial race, Ted Cruz, which I don't know how you lose to an unpopular Republican, but he did, ran for president. You got MJ, lost a congressional bid to an extremely unpopular Republican in my district. I'm in that district, and it's okay, I'm going to run for Senate now. But Blagojevich absolutely would have run against somebody if he could. He is that guy, but he got commuted,
which I think is important, right? He's still a convicted criminal, like you said. He's
still convicted. Now, no one had a problem when President Obama commuted the sentence of a treasonous piece of crap. And when I say treasonous, I mean someone convicted of treason, 35-year sentence, did not serve 35 years, did not serve double digits, right? No one had a problem with that. In fact, that person now is hailed as a social warrior hero, has tried to run for Senate. The person's tried to do all kinds of publicity stunts.
He's switched up genders. He's done, everything. Become a darling of everything.
The bottom line, that person committed treason, got convicted of treason, served time, and then got released. There's a big difference between misappropriation of campaign funds and selling secrets.
Treason against our country. Yes.
Yeah. Which in the military, under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, is actually an executable offense, capital offense. Forget the legal wrangling to get that, taken off the table. But no one had a problem with that. And now all of a sudden, everyone's up in arms, oh, how dare this guy do that? It's you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Right.
You try and impeach the guy for what you're saying is trying to get leverage on a political opponent, where he just let one of his political opponents out of jail.
Right. Who came out of jail and said he still doesn't agree with all of his policies and doesn't agree on all this stuff, right?
That dude was on Fox News last night for freaking 3 hours. I wonder how much he charged Fox News for the exclusive on that. That dude's still a slimy scumbag, and whatever.
But different than Carrick, right? Who was the NYPD police commissioner who had been convicted, who did his time, right, and was out. Now he was pardoned, right? So him and the owner of the San Francisco 49ers and a couple other folks were pardoned which means record cleared, like it never happened, nothing. Right now, some people are freaking out right now because obviously anything in the media, anything that Trump does that's positive, anything he does, they're going to go against, right? So people are freaking out about this pardons. One thing Trump is different from a lot of other presidents on. This is yet another one. Most presidents wait until the end of their term, or especially until the end of like the day they're leaving the White House, and they start signing pardons left and right because, like, hey, you can't do nothing to me now, and they walk out. Trump, yet again, President Trump shows he's not going to slime his way out of the White House and just throw a whole bunch of pardons on, over the fence and run, right? And knowing that there's nothing anybody can do about it before he, the swearing in happens. He's doing that not only during his presidency, but before he's up for re-election. He's doing it, showing that, hey, I'm transparent. I'm being upfront and honest. I think these people have pardons, right? No different than the people he's pardoned, like the lady got released out of prison in Florida, right? That he had at the State of the Union, right? Right. He's not just pardoning rich people or friends of his or whatever. He pardons people that it appears, should I say, I can't speak for him, that he has pardoned people from all walks of life, rich, poor, black, white, friends, people he doesn't know, maybe not friends, whatever. I mean, from what I've seen, he is being about as fair as he can. He's taking time out of his schedule, whatever, and looking and evaluating these cases. Of course, people are already saying, well, this has something to do with the Mueller stuff and with Manafort and with Roger Stone and all that. That's great conjecture. That's great speculation because it allows for great talking points to get people amped up. But there's no evidence of that. There's no proof of that. There's nothing, right? It's he just decided to issue pardon. People can jump the shark and think it has something to do with another cause, but the reality is this is a right and a permission, a power that the president has, that every president has had, and in fact he has pardoned less people than I think like the previous 7 presidents. He's done that.
And let's rewind. Let's look at people that have been pardoned. We've, like there was a big pressure to pardon, and Rob, the unpaid producer, is probably gonna have to correct me on this.
Oh, he'll be all over that.
I'm probably wrong. But Roman Polanski,
right?
It's like there was an entire campaign, an entire PR campaign created to pardon Roman Polanski. Like people have called upon these powers, to do this, and people, influencers will use that hip term, Meryl Streep and such, people like influencers, calling upon the president of the United States, to pardon certain people. It's like when you look at Carrick, the former commissioner of the New York police, that guy's body of work in life is pretty impressive.
Right.
And then when you look at, what they hammered him with, and then you looked at him getting pardoned, you're like, all right, that's fair. You definitely beat him up a little bit, but that's the difference between hey, you committed crimes against little children. You sold information and you committed treason against your people, no matter what it is, are going to find a reason to be in an uproar right now.
Right.
This guy can do no wrong, except it's not going to matter because that dude did an 800-foot AGL flyover of Daytona International Speedway, and he was like, 8 towers, the pattern, request flyby, and they were like, negative, Air Force One, the pattern's full, and he was like, you know how hard it is to slow a 747 down to do a flyover over, dude,
so you can wave, as you go by to the people in the cheap seats.
Yeah, dude, you know who the number one evangelist of the Trump campaign just became? That Air Force One pilot. That dude, he can't do anything publicly, he can't do anything in private, but I tell you, that dude's in a bar right now going Bro, the boss was like, if you could get me.
He was like, yep, I can go full flaps, high power, full
Like,
flaps, and just bring that baby right. And I haven't done this since Desert Storm, boss. you
yeah,
know,
like here's to you, Mr. Slow Flying 747 guy.
ooh, nice
You know,
one.
like no, like real man of
I want to
awesomeness.
call out.
No,
I want to
like
call out someone else, Toby, before we go. I know we're winding down here.
let's go.
I want to call. I don't know who it is. I hope we find out through social media or FOIA acts, and maybe Mark Seavey's out there still listening, and he can help us with this. I want to find out who bought a whole bunch of pigeons in Nevada
Oh,
and took time one, also made a whole bunch of little MAGA hats, and then took time to super glue or maybe safety pin or whatever they did those little teeny MAGA hats to the heads of pigeons, some number, I don't know how many it is, to release them before the. That is as savage trolling as I've ever seen.
dude,
Even
that might be I'm like
I mean, I thought
I,
of Lawrence
I'm
Fishburne and I thought of Lawrence
losing
Fishburne and John
I'm
Wick.
losing viewers like right now because of the tears that are about to stream down my face just out of sheer like gut wrenching joy. Like that is absolutely the best. Like that is the ultimate. Like, oh, I see your like troll comments. I raise you pigeons with MAGA
With
hats
MAGA hats.
outside. Like,
Not
and
just
then
not just
going
red hats. I mean, they could have put red hats on there and that would have been sufficient.
it's
But it actually said MAGA on them. Like it was straight
no,
up.
it's America great again. And so like here you are. You're cruising down the street. We'll call it the strip in Las Vegas. And you walk and you notice there's a statue. It's a silver statue, but wait, it moves. It's a street performer that's trying to hustle you for a $2 to $5 tip. And
It's 5 to
you
20
walk a
now.
few more feet, you walk a few more feet, and all of a sudden there's a transformer. And you're like, oh my goodness, they're real, they're alive, they're much smaller than I thought. And then you walk 3 more feet and you watch a bird fly by and shit on both of them. And then you're like, what's that on that bird's head? Is that a bird? Is that a plate? Is that a MAGA hat? Are you kidding me? Like that is the ultimate of trolls.
No,
Like
better yet, you're on about the 10th floor of the Luxor, and you wake up after a strong bender all night, and you slide open your windows to look out at the morning sunshine of Vegas, and there's a bird looking at you with a MAGA hat on, staring you, and you're thinking, "How much did I drink last night?" Hey, honey, hey, honey, I don't know how drunk I am, but there's a bird wearing a MAGA hat. I mean, I'm almost making myself cry here thinking about that. What's someone?
like that is absolutely genius. And it's the whole like 4chan, like turning the old punch game into like white supremacy, or like all those kind of trolls. Like it's hilarious how people have been able to do that, but the birds wearing MAGA hats by far is the ultimate troll.
I
Like
want to
that.
highlight too. Doug does emphasize that one of them had Trump hair. One of them had a little blonde wig. So
It's got like someone like took a cotton ball and like threw some gold paint on it. Like, dude, like that's brilliant, man. Like,
I want to
like
see that on Pinterest. I'm waiting to see those pictures on Pinterest. Whoever did that.
yeah, like all right, one, like I don't live in a state where like weed's legal, but that's how someone lives in a state where weed's legal.
There's some.
Because like some dudes were hanging out, or dudettes. I'm an equal opportunity troller. They got really high and they were like, bro, sis, it'd be awesome like if we did this. And they did. Like I think of some of the senior pranks I pulled, and I thought I thought I pulled some pretty good pranks. I thought I like turned it up a bit, turned up as the kids would say. But no, like that was one, and the discipline. Like so like, hypothetically, purely hypothetically, like maybe I know a little bit about embroidery. Like that's not an easy thing to make, right?
Do you know anything about gluing
Especially with
hats
that,
on birds' heads? I imagine that's not
like,
easy either.
like that's like to scale. That's pretty hard to do. And then you have to like have access to the birds, and then you gotta like mount them, like every aspect of it, like took time, effort, and planning. And I gotta tell you, a minor investment.
Yeah.
Like
Apparently, it was 25 birds. Rob, our unpaid producer, saying 25 pigeons. That's not. I mean,
they caught is what they found.
I guess
I
you
bet
go
you.
on Google
I
and
bet
and
you.
or Yelp and look for pigeon sales in the Vegas Valley. I'm not sure, right? Where you find that at. Like, hey, do you have 25 pigeons I could buy? I need them by next week. There's a thing. There's a thing going on.
I'm just bummed that I missed the opportunity to see this in the wild myself.
Oh,
Like I appreciate a good joke. And I would have like lost my proverbial if I could have seen that.
and he
I
picked
would have
pigeons,
enjoyed.
not like not doves, which would have been kind of good too. Not doves, not vultures or pigeons, which are pretty.
Dude, it's the best, dude. The best. Like everything about it, they picked the best bird. They picked the best opportunity, the best location. Like everything about it was genius.
I'm waiting
Like,
for someone to
I,
catch a whole bunch of rats in New York and just put little MAGA hats on rats and just let them run all over New York. That would be that's the
yeah,
next
but
level.
it won't have the same. It won't have the same effect because, like,
The sequel's never good as the original, right?
well, that and like pigeons. So here's the thing about pigeons. While like they're a nuisance, they're also adored. They're coveted. They have a purpose. They were a form of communication. The way their feathers sheen is still pretty. Like even though they're like this nuisance and they crap on everything, they're also like pretty cool. Uh, People hunt them. People respect them. Uh, People admire them. People keep them. People nurture them. Uh, Rats are rats.
How long do you think till PETA complains?
I don't think they will.
No?
Like I don't think they will.
Huh.
PETA got enough problems. PETA's the number one killer of animals in America. Like, and now that that word's out on the street, everyone's like, "Oh, PETA's awesome," and then they're like, "Oh, like the PETA supports more kill facilities than any other organization in America." And now that that information's out on the street, PETA's. I don't think PETA will ever recover from like the PR problem they're going through.
Hmm.
They're gonna try and act up. They can bring in another playmate. One hopefully that's younger and is not as hideous or Canadian as Pamela, but whatever.
Yeah.
They're duns. All right.
Hey,
What else?
I don't know what else you got. I think we hit on. I mean, Dave coming in threw me off for a loop. I mean, we had a lot of topics. We talked. The recent stuff. We talked the debate. Impeachment's behind. Pardons and clemencies and all those things are happening. I'm not sure we have much else, and we're ready to roll here. What do you think? You got anything you want to cover?
We're good. Uh, Dave kind of, it's exciting to have him on. It's always good to hear from him. I haven't been able to talk to him in a while, so it was great to at least just, hear him live again.
It's been
it's
about
nice to
it's
have
been
him.
almost a year. I think we last had him on in
free.
April.
Yeah, where he's free enough to like actually say what he wants to say. I loved while he was talking about, Leroy's post about Vindman. Oh, that's the last thing I want to talk about real quick.
We didn't even get in on
Vin,
that with him, man. I wish we would cover that. He got a lot of coverage on it.
I would touch on it quickly. So, one, for people that are like trying to defend Vindman, cool. Appreciate you defending the uniform. And I know that's why you're defending that guy. You're defending the uniform. And as a guy that's worn that uniform, not at that rank, but with better crap than he's got on his, I appreciate you defending the uniform. And just because a guy has a Purple Heart doesn't make him a good. In fact, like
the best thing Leroy said, I know we've said it on the show. We've said it on the show a couple times. It was so good to hear Leroy say that, right?
Yeah. So I appreciate when people defend the uniform, especially people that blindly defend it because they hold it in such esteem. Understand that everyone that wears the uniform is not of the greatest esteem. Everything that this guy did, take who the president is and all that away from it. He violated his oath. He violated his chain of command. He went after personal agenda. He wore the uniform at the hearings and requested to be called by rank, specifically to hide behind the uniform, not behind his actions. His actions demand further action. They demand judicial action. He didn't lose his job because he spoke out against the president's opinion. He lost his job because he violated his position. And yes, he spoke out against the president, the head of his chain of command. He used the uniform to do it. There's rules against that stuff, and he deserves 10 times worse than what he's getting. Now, to like be escorted out and all that stuff, like that's everybody.
Yeah.
You could be the coolest cat on the block. You're gonna get escorted out. Hey, there's a guy by the name of General Flynn got escorted out. No one said anything about that. There are guys, General Kelly got escorted out. No one said anything about that.
General McMaster, right? Another one.
Petraeus got escorted out. If your time in that office in the White House expires or you're a guest, you get escorted out. People can't just hang out and roam around, despite what you watched on a popular television show a few years ago with Rob Lowe and Martin Sheen. Like, that's actually not how it goes down.
Nope.
So, like, you're watched, you're under escorted, despite, Kevin Spacey and all these things that you might think. Like, that doesn't go down. Like, that is the most unliberated position to be in, is inside that building. The guy broke the rules. He broke the rules, long-standing, purposeful rules. This isn't opinion. This isn't retribution. He theoretically, legally, and honestly could get wrecked. To get his career wrecked. When you think about what happened to General Petraeus for letting someone look over his shoulder, they gave him a felony.
Right.
Petraeus took a felony because someone looked over his shoulder at a computer screen. Keeping it real. This dude falsified testimony to Congress, made up shit, and then directly went against the president of the United States on the record with falsehood.
So everyone knows, everyone realizes. I don't have the exact quote UCMJ code in front of me, but the UCMJ says specifically that active duty commissioned officers cannot speak bad of their superiors all the way up to the president of the United States. I'm sure Rob will probably find it. I can't remember. Right?
I think it's Article 91.
Yeah, I can't. I'm talking about, but
I think it's Article 91. Right.
So the UCMJ, and we know the Uniform Code of Military Justice and the court martial system is not the same as the U.S. civilian court system. It definitely is. It's much more. It's not. There's not as many liberties and freedoms that you have in the U.S. court system. And there's a lot more there than there's UCMJ. But it specifically says that commissioned officers that are commissioned in the United States military are not allowed to speak. Are not allowed to be political, are not allowed to share political opinions, aren't allowed to wear uniforms. I mean, enlisted can't either. But now reserve or National Guard officers, while not on duty, can say what they want and do, and to some degree legally say what they want, but active duty cannot. Right? That's and has nothing to do with being whistleblower or this or that or whatever. It's explicitly says that. So for people to think that, oh, they just went after him and this and that, whatever. No, there's Uniform Code of Military Justice regulations that state what he can and cannot do. on top of everything else. So I just want to make sure people realize that. May have been retired a day or two, but I don't know the number, but I know it's still there. Oh
no, like, and yeah, I just felt like the need to like clear the record on that because
Rob came through. Rob posted in the chat.
What is it?
Article 88. Yeah.
88.
Yes.
91's non-commissioned.
And any commissioned officer who uses contemptuous words against the president, the vice president, Congress, the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Military Department, Homeland Security, or the governor or legislature of any state, commonwealth, or possession in which he is on duty or present shall be punished as court-martial may direct. Right?
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you, Rob.
That's exactly what's up.
Right. So it's not just the president. It's a number of people, not just the president. But definitely the top.
And again, people, play on the court of public opinion. And here's the deal, like the court of public opinion and the Uniform Code of Military Justice is not the same. And I got to tell you, like, while I saw that, I got the news alert that, the president was pardoning and et cetera people, I got really excited because I really was hoping that, Ranger Hatley would be one of them. I'm still holding out hope, like I'm still holding out hope, like there are guys due to the Uniform Code of Military Justice that are in Leavenworth that the previous administration persecuted, and like charged them with war crimes that are not war crimes.
Right.
There's no evidence. There's no physical evidence. There's only the testimony of a convicted, drug dealer, literally, that put a good leader, a great first sergeant, an amazing Audie Murphy member in jail for the rest of his life on zero evidence and the testimony of one man. No body. There's actually no proof that a crime even happened. Just the word of a guy that got caught by CID smuggling drugs back into theater.
Maybe we need Kim Kardashian to get the Ranger Hatley story and push that.
Dude, I honestly, like that, to me, that'd be worth the effort to try and talk to Kim Kardashian. I have no reason to talk to her that would be the only reason I could think of her being useful on this planet.
Or we may know, we know some other people may have a connection to get that word up there, but we'll have to.
Like that. I would actually. That's a good point, and we do have that, and that to me would be, that's worthy of that because that's you want to bring someone to the State of the Union, you bring that guy. Yeah.
Hey, well, we got to get running. We've been going over an hour and a half. It has been a phenomenal show. I know Toby and I went into this thinking, okay, we'll, a little food bar last week, but we'll just get on there. We got a lot of events to talk about. Dave jumping in was an added bonus, and can't thank him enough. For those that tuned in afterwards, they saw our socials. Yeah, Dave Bellavia was on. He was on from about the 40-minute mark, so right about 8:40 to about 9 o'clock. So if you go back and listen to this, or if you're tuning in, go back and replay it and listen to it. We had Dave on the phone to catch a little bit of his sense of humor and hear some of a few stories he's had. But and make sure you listen to the whole show. But man, I think this turned out to be a nice one here. I got to say, this show turned out well, Toby.
Yeah, solid.
But anyways,
shout out to everyone that tuned in. Thank you. Thank you. Look for us on iTunes, iHeartRadio. Make sure you subscribe. For whatever reason, like Facebook doesn't like us, but you can like us on Facebook, even though they're probably not going to let you like us. But
no, we need some more likes on there. Yeah, we definitely need some more.
Don't forget to follow the Instagrams and the YouTubes.
Yeah, YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're on Spreaker. We're on Periscope. iHeartRadio, Spotify, all of that. So be sure and tune in. Keep an eye on stewandthenunn.com. Thank you all for allowing us into your homes on this Thursday evening here for this show. I think we're episode 192, and we will be seeing you all next Thursday here on Stew and the Nun. Toby, I wish you a good night, my friend, and everyone else. Everybody have a good night.
Night, everybody.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stew and the Nun Radio. We hope you enjoyed your time with us because we have enjoyed sharing our time with you. Be sure to check out stewandthenunn.com in addition to asking us questions and interacting with us on our Facebook page and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Spreaker and Facebook Live. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, PoohHammer.com, Veteran Outdoors, Graybeard Publishing, and Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Thank you again, and have a good night.